I'm very happy to welcome you, and maybe you can introduce yourself, starting by you, Anne-Laure Chanzel.
Hi. Very happy to be here, and thank you, Alice, for the invitation. I spent probably 20 years in the industry, working on the marketing and communication side for a different well-known brand, fashion brands. I decided to stop this and start teaching. So I now dedicate myself to support the next talent, young talent, who will be I hope, the wise leaders of the industry. So I'm teaching at EIML, which is a dedicated business school dedicated to luxury, École internationale du marketing de luxe, and also Modart, a French fashion school as well. Besides this, I started a PhD. I think that's why you reached me. So I started a PhD at Paris Dauphine. And my PhD is all about the transformation of fashion business models, and especially thanks to collaborations between all the actors. It's called open innovation, and I think this is what you are doing today in this kind of event, like meeting each other, discussing about your experiences and best practices, and sharing innovation to make the industry a better place.
Thank you so much. Shruti.
Hi, I'm Shruti. I head up Mani AI, which is a technology company, and we're building AI for fashion brands as well as manufacturing companies, with the primary purpose of making it cheaper to manufacture in small batches and then do repeat orders. There's a whole lot of ethics built into the technology, but obviously our key motivation is sustainability. It has been traditionally very expensive for brands to produce in small quantities and near shore. Even in countries like Portugal, Turkey, these countries are not very much used as compared to the Far East. So that's what we're doing. I'm from a factory background. I've grown up around factories. I've run a factory for 4 years in India and then for about 4 months in the UK to test the software itself. And we're now working with brands which have a combined revenue of over 30 billion to test the technology. A lot of it is very much about simple efficiencies and helping buyers, designers, buying assistants, design assistants do things which just take up their time, like filling out POs, entering details into PLMs. There's a lot of efficiencies to be made there. And on the factory side, we do something called capacity planning, which looks at hundreds of tech packs simultaneously and creates an operation breakdown for different styles to then figure out what is the quickest way to do production for the given set of garments in the specified quantities. A lot of these are mathematical problems which we work with, and even though there's been a huge burst in generative AI, some of the algorithmic work it hasn't grown as fast, but it is made more powerful through generative AI, so I can talk more about that. But yeah, I'm really passionate about workers. I sew myself. Understand what SMVs are, what machinist timings are, what good seams look like, and how hard it is to actually produce the garments which we wear without a lot of realization.
Thank you. Sylvie?
Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. My name is Sylvie. I've been working in textile industry for over 30 years now. I'm a consultant specialized in trend predictions and product and collection developments. And also more recently, With another consulting who's a sustainable expert, we're offering help to companies who want to actually change the way they conceiving, creating, and developing their collections. And I'm also teaching. I'm teaching with in a couple of schools in Paris, and one has already been mentioned by Anne-Laure. It's Modart, which is a fashion school, international fashion school. And also what Shruti has been saying about industry and factory is really talking to me a lot, because I spent a lot of my time doing product development, and I spent a lot of time in factories, textile factories, printing, weaving, manufacturing, and I've seen people working on site, and it's actually learning. You learn a lot from that industry and all the different issues being on site. So yeah, that talks to me
from the ground.
Absolutely, yes. And also had the chance to work with weavers and printers, so really following the product development from the beginning, really, from the yarn to the finished product, printed or woven. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So my first question is, how has the democratization of generative AI, OpenAI, ChatGPT, etc., influenced the way we work in recent years in and out of the fashion industry?
We have the specialist here, but maybe not generative AI.
No.
Nope. It's a different type of AI.
I definitely understand generative AI. So there's obviously the design side, which I'm sure students are really experimenting with and love.
Yeah, we're actually, we host each year at EML a kind of day of conferences, and last year the day was dedicated to AI, so we had the opportunity to discuss a lot. It's something that is kind of scary for the students, to be honest, but now they tend to understand that it's not going to be something that will they won't lose their job because of AI, and they're very much more optimistic about it. They also tend to understand that it's not creation from scratch, so the act of creating still exists, can be held by the prompting, and you need to be creative when you prompt, so either for text or videos, etc. You need to have a culture as well. So you need to have different skills to be able to use the AI tools. And obviously, it's a gain of time, of money, of energy for, let's say, smaller sets. We had someone from the production and photography industry telling us that somehow we have couture, and somehow we have fast fashion, for instance, and in the same way with the traditional photographer, makeup artists, the models, and working on great campaign and creating something beautiful, and other people working with AI for something maybe less ambitious but still super attractive, and so everyone is trying to find their own way, and we obviously encourage everyone to use it.
Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's generative AI, which is obviously referred to more for text, or in the world of fashion design for generating designs. And there's a great many companies now who specialize in this. And I believe Revolve has just hired somebody who's going to be head of AI design. It's a huge opportunity for brands. On the other side, of course, the least glamorous side is the price optimization algorithms. And in between, there's a whole lot of efficiencies and operational efficiencies. The way I think about it is, it's always been easy for computers to speak to other computers, right? However, when it comes to things like tech packs or POs, there's a lot of information which is locked up in there, even things like fabric inventory. And a lot of our time is spent, or a lot of time in fashion brands as well as factories, is spent in doing paperwork, which I love the generative side of making images, but what I really don't want to do, I don't want to give up sketching. So my background's also product development from a while ago in products, not in fashion. But I would never want to give up developing a new product or a new piece of furniture, right? But I would want to give up making very technical drawings, sending a material list, a bill of material, monitoring how many pieces of wood I have left. And these are the things which AI can do for us, which I'm really passionate about, is how can AI reduce the workload in terms of designers. They have, say, minimum make requirements, or they have quality requirements, and a good tech pack can be 50 pages long, right? A Burberry tech pack is 32 pages long. For each tech pack to be made, even for a trench coat, which has really few permutations and combinations, it takes so much time for somebody to actually make that. And that takes them away from their technical job of maybe actually checking the garment. I find these things really interesting because if we can take away this work, which is very much somebody sitting in front of a computer, long, boring, and really, not essential, then we can turn to other matters.
It's so funny to think that the digital software, they have started by the funniest part of fashion, which is drawing.
Yeah.
Like with Adobe, you can basically directly draw and fill and make everything with the AI very easily, while it is it's the funniest part of fashion, at least I'm talking from the stylist perspective and creator. Boy, for tech packs, we don't have anything right now, so we have to spend a lot of time on it.
And even entering into PLM, I spoke to so many people who are at Kering or LVMH, and what are they doing? They are entering things into PLM and spending so much time on doing it. And it's the same on factory side, where you're maintaining fabric repositories, you're calculating fabric utilization, you are again and again writing the same notes about garment construction. And what the machine learning models can help do is do this and do more. So open costing, which has been a hotly debated topic for so many years for brands, you can now have models which can actually look at lots of production times and say, this is actually how much zips cost. And there's that potential. But the thing is, a tool is only as good as what we do with it. So the work is still in the weeds. It's hard work to get the AI working, to have people trust it. And I can talk more about specific examples if folks are interested later.
And in your experience, have you already been in contact with fashion companies using AI for the designing process or whatever?
I think also to bounce back on what Anna was saying about the students being worried about IA, I think also in companies, when you do see changes, you do see people worried about losing their job and not knowing where they stand in terms of these new technologies. And I also wanted to go back to the fact that, yes, they're right in a way, because it's actually affecting a lot of department. And to answer your question, really, Alice, it's, I'm thinking a very practical example, which also shows the power of these new tools. It's in a way that some brands, I'm not going to give names, but they've been able to adjust their measurements boards by analyzing the content of the comments that the customers were making when they return the goods. And because the fact that the company is manufacturing clothes that do not fit the body's morphology of the clients, it's a huge problem. It's the #1 cause of return. So it's a lot of money for the company, they lose money. in terms of carbon print, it's a catastrophe because the client is sending back its product. The client is not terribly satisfied either, and the fact that those companies have been able to use IA to analyze what the problem was with the measurements guides actually has made the rate of return drop drastically from 50 to 80%.
I love such examples.
Yeah.
They are such a good example of what the real use of AI should be thought of as. I have a similar example, which is a huge manufacturer who makes athleisure started doing this service using AI of looking at the comments under one of their big brands' key products, which was leggings. And they found out one of the waistbands was consistently reported as scratchy across different products. And they're just using LLMs to read the comments and give insights. And they then changed it. And I think it's stuff like this we should really celebrate,
And it goes, yeah, if I just can add something to Shruti's comment, it is an efficiency progress. It is a sustainability progress because of the carbon print, because of the clothes that returned are often not put back in collection. There are, the brands cannot sell them again for different reasons. And also it's a way for the brand to be in a closer contact with the client and take a step into personalization, customization, but just as a first step to be able to listen to the customer's needs. And I think that's what you were also saying about this problem of elastic band. I mean, you can have a problem of selling a product because you have one quality problem, but who's going to look into all the clients' returns and analyze them?
Just what you said made me think that it's true that each innovation drive to reaction of people are scared basically, but maybe the best way to fight is to understand the technology and be able to understand, appropriate itself the technology instead of just spending your energy to fight against something which will happen anyway. And regarding the students, recently I was collaborating with a former student from Duperré, which is a very creative school in Paris, School of Design. And he told me that he was the last one in the class to make slow fashion, meaning just sewing clothing, meaning that all the other ones were really into 3D fashion. And they are totally they are doing very creative things with 3D software, and they are working a lot right now. And he's the last one who's just sewing clothing by the traditional way. So it's just crazy to think how fast it is. But yeah, it's from the fashion school viewpoint, and maybe it's different from the business perspective.
But you're absolutely right, and I think all of the fashion school now have integrated the AI and all these new tools into specific programs. At Moda, to have a digital designer program, and they are trained to create digital collections. But the smartest way to use it is to reinforce the digital by a physical collection, and actually the AI, the digital side, helps you, stop wasting fabrics in your different patterns, etc., etc. And it's a nice conversation. I really like the idea of AI must be understood as a tool for sustainability. Even if the sustainability of the machines are not exactly trusted, but still all the mechanism here is to help sustainability, and it's kind of a reaction to the roundtable you had before us. Yeah, so it's actually what Trudy is doing is part of a very big optimistic side of how fashion can change.
Thank you. So my second question is, what are, and maybe it's more for you, what are the other main factors of change and associated managerial challenges for companies?
A lot. How much time do we have?
I don't know.
Okay, so fashion right now, I think, is challenged by a big transformation. We need a big move in different ways. We all talk about sustainability, obviously. So we talked about sustainability regarding the environment before, and probably this is the first one. But also we need sustainability in business, because companies are, there is a slowdown, and companies, they really have difficulties, and probably better monitoring the stocks and stopping the excesses and stopping the sales, not the sales, sorry, the sale, the discounts, the promotions, all of the thing. We need a more sustainability, profit and loss, to be honest. We need more diversity also within brands. We need more creativity. The list is not endless, but we have some few really strategic areas to tackle right now. So we can discuss one in particular if you want to, or...
I think also I'd like to add to what you say.
I forgot the data. I forgot the data. Using the data is one of the biggest challenges as well.
I think there's also for companies and management the challenge of I would tend to say dealing with a new generation of younger people who are recruited and are joining the company, and they're much more volatile than people, of course, my age, but even younger. And I think that
retain the talents. This is what you want to say. It's more difficult to retain the talents.
It's more difficult to retain the talents, and the way that the companies have to talk to the people they are hiring is different, because they have different expectation. And I tend to think that's changing the landscape and the management in general. And maybe you see it, and also in the school with your students when they're thinking of taking new positions, that they're expecting from the companies to meet their value, to be more sustainable, to
more and more, obviously, and above all, if I focus on my luxury students at EML, they're looking for meaning. A lot of them are looking for meaning and value.
Yeah.
Okay, I can jump in. So not managerial, but more strategic things which I think are really of concern right now. Inventory planning, which obviously speaks to your point about full price sell-through. That's a huge problem. Too many discounts, just way too many discounts, which means every product, no matter how creative it is ultimately underpriced. So how do you actually plan for inventory when you don't know what's going to work? The increasing focus of newness because of TikTok trend cycles being so quick, and then you have to get newness to the market. Then having a brand voice which can accurately respond to newness. How are you responding to the trend of Barbie and remaining true to your brand? Will you respond to these trends? I think these are really important things for brands. How do you incorporate technology? How do you do optimization of warehousing? Do you close your warehouses? Warehousing costs went up 10% last year. Nearshoring, do you do that? Do you consolidate with your suppliers? Do you actually become partners with them? Because manufacturers are now selling directly on TikTok, on Amazon. I think these are big strategic questions. They're less managerial, but this is what a brand really has to think about. Where are we buying product from? Can we actually partner with this supplier? Can we actually depend on raw materials? With climate change, you can't depend on mono-supply. You can no longer depend on certain regions for getting your raw materials. Like Bangladesh is at a huge risk. So I think strategically there's a lot of questions. I completely agree on the managerial side as well. There's a lot of issues with a different work culture coming into play, potentially not that much exposure to the destinations where things are happening. But strategically, this is a really crazy time for fashion.
Yes, thank you. Welcome, Thomas. Maybe you can quickly introduce yourself very quickly. We are at the second questions, talking about the managerial challenges for companies.
Hello? Sorry about that, and sorry of being late, which is the worst thing that you can do in our world of apparel and garments, because late to the market is near death guaranteed. Hope it's not going to happen to me. Very briefly, I'm the director of Lisa Mode Paris, which is alongside Mode Art EML, one of the best schools in the largest fashion school in Paris. And I joined the school about a bit over 2 years ago, after 20 years in the fashion industry, at every price point and every type of business model, from haute couture to underwear, baby underwear, at Petit Bateau, where I was also, I've been human resources for those 20 years, but at Petit Bateau I was also in charge of CSR. We created the CSR department at Petit Bateau.
Thank you. Would you like to comment what Shruti was telling, or
I think I was totally in agreement with what she said, and I would put it in a slightly complementary way, which is the importance of technology. What we are facing today is from design to sales, is that the content in technology of our industry is rising very, very quickly. And we speak about AI, but the first time I encountered AI in fashion, it was about CRM. It was about inventory management. It was about discount. It was about the challenge of putting the right product at the right time in the right place. And then today I'm more focused on design, because of what I'm trying to prepare my students to do. But in fact, the big challenge, to have one stock, one client, one product, is enormous.
Yeah, thank you. My third question is, while the environmental issue is gaining ground, the question of human elements is in this highly competitive sector still seems almost illegitimate. In your opinion, can a fashion company reconcile CSR and competitiveness? Maybe Sylvie, you wanted to say something about it?
Well, clearly the verb reconciling is very well chosen, because there is a challenge with having both a sustainability policy and rentability. But to ignore it, I don't think it's a possibility. This very recent actuality has shown us that, the fact that treating the people who are actually manufacturing or are part of the production chain of clothes, for a company making a mistake can be actually a big problem. And I don't know if you followed this past week, but there's a big French brand, which is a sport equipment supplier, has been spotted with the problem of using the cotton collected by slaves, possibly slaves in China, with the Uyghurs. So when I heard that, I really thought of your subject, Alice, and I was thinking, well, no, you cannot ignore that human aspect. I mean, the publicity that has been done to that situation is huge in France. I mean, it made a double page in national newspaper. How could they not know? So I think that clearly a company today has to be extremely careful in controlling its sourcing and supplying chain. And yes, the fact that it can be combined with competitivity is certainly even a bigger issue. I think there's also in France these days a way that you cannot ignore this issue, because we have laws, we have regulation, we have a law called La Loi AGEC, and coming very soon we will have the obligation of having every piece of clothing labeled with the information about carbon print. And in 2 years' time, there will be a digital passport for the product. So the product is going to tell the truth, more of the truth to the clients. And this very much of that truth is about carbon print, is about how the product was manufactured, where it's coming from, what type of dye, what type of prints, what type of finishing. It will be actually very detailed, and there will be a score for the product. So yeah, I think this period of time is actually very important, crucial. It's a key step in taking sustainability and human rights, in human factor into account.
Yes.
I would love to add something about the transparency. We also have to see this as an opportunity, transparency. Because when it comes to what used to be your competitive advantage is not a competitive advantage anymore when it comes to the planet and the human rights. I have in my H&M some years ago, and they released a list of good factories to work with. They released the list so that their competitors or small brands could have the knowledge, the access to the good factories. So they transformed like a competitive advantage. Is that I did the work, I sourced the best, but now I'm happy to release it to help other competitors. It's called open innovation. It's one of my research topic. And I really think that transparency, working together, open innovation in the sake of a good planet and good people living on this planet is the topic of the future, of the very near future.
Very
I'm
optimistic,
not sure
thank you.
I agree with this. I don't know if I agree, because I'm very skeptical of corporates. But what I do think is that the biggest thing which needs to happen is collaboration with suppliers. So if we are talking about transparency, knowing if there's slavery, modern-day slavery in your supply chains, it doesn't have to be in China. This is happening in Italy as well. And I think the way to know it is to not chase the cheapest supplier. If you're always chasing the cheapest supplier, if you're always turning over your suppliers, you are not going to know them inside out. You're not going to know how they make products. You're not going to know the cost of materials, what it costs for them to maintain their machinery, who is there on their staff. No matter how big a company you are, H&M has 143,000 employees, right? It's a huge company. You have enough resource to consolidate with suppliers and get to know them. It's a relationship over years. And I haven't seen any other industry which has such a throwaway relationship with its suppliers. Because unfortunately, clothes are commoditized, which means it's very easy for companies to keep changing. This is now shifting with Hugo Boss, Benetton. Like Benetton now, the Olympias group is owning a lot of its manufacturing, even though it's in Northern Africa, right? I would like a world where there could be collaborative capacity planning between brands. But say for H&M, Arket, COS, even they don't work together because the quality standards are so different. I wish this could happen, but what I really want is institutes like Better Buying Institute, which does a great job of rating people on their purchasing behaviors. They start coming forward. And I think the biggest wake-up call will be when manufacturers go to market themselves. Then brands are not going to be able to really, keep thinking, okay, we can just keep shifting suppliers. The best manufacturers will release their own brands. So that, I think, get to know your suppliers, get to know where your product is coming from, make relationships. In the H&M investor report which came out just a few days ago, this is what they're saying. We will deepen our supplier relationships. Ralph Lauren, it's the same thing. Zalando, it's the same thing. It's about consolidation for the first time of suppliers, which I'm very excited about, personally.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, it's working. Well, the funny thing about Ralph Lauren is that I used to work with this brand a little bit less than 10 years ago, and we had a new chief product officer or chief manufacturing officer, and she discovered that we're working with 83 different suppliers for one piece of garment, and that the notion of blue was completely different from one factory to another. This is not possible anymore. Now, for me, the question boils down to, are we ready to pay the price? And the answer, so far, is not. And I'm not super optimistic. The burst of Shein and Temu as one end, and the other end, you mentioned the thing that was on TV last weekend, but Dior and Armani have been caught red-handed in the Milano suburbs with bad practices. They should have known. They should have known. Actually, no one cares. The truth is, no one cares. It has absolutely not dented. And when you think about it, it goes to the heart of a luxury brand which is supposed to be about craft. It's about exclusivity. It's about all those values. In fact, no one cares. So I don't know. I mean, the quality is important because it boils down also, it can lead to durability. And durability is something that the consumer can value, because actually, if you buy anything that lasts, it's cheaper than something cheap, but that you have to get rid of. And it has been a big fight within the people who were thinking about the labeling, for instance. How do you take into consideration durability? At Petit Bateau, we had vested interest because a Petit Bateau body baby underwear can last, we used to say 5 lives. I even bought washing machines to test it, but some people don't care about it. And the carbon impact of cotton underwear at Petit Bateau is higher than competition. But as it lasts longer, I mean, it's the basic of life cycle measurement, it's actually more effective in terms of respecting the planet's resources. So it's full of how do you value, how do you measure quality and durability? It's not easy.
Thank you. My question is to go even further, but I guess your answer is not so optimistic for this one neither. Is in France, the issue of mental health is gaining in popularity. It's a big trend. Is this trend accompanied by structural changes within companies? We discussed with some of you before the roundtable, shall we talk about it or not? Because it's true that it's a very tricky question. It's still a very new topic, which is asked in the context of business. So I don't know if you have information to share with us about this specific topic on your side.
It's not something from our generation, to be honest. But young generation are so much into mental health that probably the companies should be prepared for this. And besides, thinking about well-being of your employees should be the very basics, indeed, Shruti. And if we link this to the idea of transparency, and probably at one point, it's a very tricky question. If we are very, I had a figure last week. I got this percentage of 86% of French population. It was an observatoire coming from a research from ESCA, School of Management, and they had an observatoire based on consumption of sustainable fashion. And according to this observatoire, 84% of the people who were asked about sustainable fashion say that they won't, they don't agree to pay a price, providing fair répartition, sharing of the richesse, of the
wealth.
The wealth. Okay, so 86% of the people are not okay to pay a price, enabling sharing the wealth. And I was shocked. So in a way, we have our fashion students or management students completely educated because, I mean, we have the information, we have books on this, the information is available. So our students, they want fair treatment for everyone and they want mental health to be addressed. But many people who just don't care or maybe not aware of this and they don't see the so yeah, I'm mixed on this subject.
Yes.
Well, I have to share something that I'm certainly not a specialist on that issue of mental health at work, but looking into the subject, it's actually quite a new subject, and there's something quite new that's coming, at least in France, is that you can now be well, first of all, the big issue for the companies is actually to train people in the companies to understand the problem, listen to their colleagues, deal with their employees. And there's now the possibility to be trained to have an emergency help diploma for mental health. You know, like you take your exam and you learn how to deal with someone who's having a heart attack or is collapsing in front of you. You know, you can get a training and know what to do with this person. Well, the same thing is happening for mental health. It's coming from Australia, apparently, and some companies have started it in France. So people can be trained how to deal with when you see that someone in the company is actually in a situation of pain, of distress, and needs help. So I thought that was actually quite interesting. That yes, it is coming, as you said, Alice. It's an emerging subject.
We do it, but for students, meaning that the team or part of the team is trained to face mental health emergency. But I don't know how much this is specific to applied art student population or wider to. But obviously in a school context. And I don't know if it's, I guess it's the same everywhere. We have a significant number, much more significant than I ever had as an HR professional.
Yeah, and also we saw in companies appearing this kind of new jobs like happiness manager and this kind of thing, and we all know that it's not so much efficient, and it's also maybe because we are French and it's not like culturally speaking very well integrated, but we also have the feeling that it's kind of powder to hide the, like I worked in luxury, and of course we all know that the way we work is not super healthy. We know that this craziness in the end is maybe useful for the business. And that's why I wanted to also ask the question on the perspective of work and efficiency and management, because now I have the feeling that people are more thinking about the long term than before, maybe, with all those questions of sustainability and all. And when it comes to mental health, maybe we realize that if people are healthy, maybe they work better, no, on the long run. But maybe it's just something I read on some studies, and it's still very... Because I'm not into management things, so you're certainly more aware about it.
I can personally just speak about the factory side, if that's appropriate.
Which is already a lot of...
I think Thomas has the HR experience, yeah.
Well, first of all, as a school director, my motto is that you learn better when you feel good. So that's what we try to do in our school. But I think there's a couple of things. One, we used to speak a lot about meaning. And that things that to feel comfortable, you have to do something that is meaningful, and it's meaningful to you, and it's clear. And to that extent, I think that we tend to forget a little bit about what is leadership. Leadership is giving direction, and it's giving meaning. And maybe we do too much of management, too much short-term, in a world where we have the social networks and the technology and everything is going faster and faster. And we don't have... And sometimes leaders are tough guys, tough persons. It's, gender has nothing to do with the toughness or not. But they give direction, and it's better to work with a tough leader, but it gives you, it's aspirational to an extent, rather than to a nice guy and you don't know where you're going. The second aspect for me, which is very important, and it comes back to what you said, is about, is my work, will I get something out of my work? What's in it for me? And I've done a lot of change management process, and my question has always been to the leadership, can you answer the question to the guys you want to drive through changes? If they ask you, what's in it for me, are you able to answer? And too often, there's no answer. The typical aspect is a private equity play where a few are going to benefit from the work of the many. But in a different setup where a lot of people have skin in the game, as they say, it's a totally... Then you can go beyond yourself. You can work very hard, but if you know why. I mean, that's... The quantity of work doesn't weight in the same weight when you know why you're working and why you're getting out of it.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, really, with you, because I think I head up a small startup. We're only 6 of us. There's a lot of workload. Everybody has to work long hours. Everybody wears many hats. It's not easy. And so the leadership is really important about showing people why you're doing certain thing and allowing them to participate willingly in those decisions and making independent decisions. I think mental health, definitely it's a huge challenge, not just for employees, for students in particular. When we think about in the UK how much student loans creatives pass out with, like they have their creativity is dead because it's just too much pressure. So really, I think it is about leadership is being lost in the favor of very polite management and sometimes micromanagement. But a leader needs to inspire that this is the direction. And in a time when we are faced with climate emergency, economic issues, far right rising, it's hard.
And inspire and understand the motivation.
And push back against it constructively and move forward constructively. So the leader has to guide, but they also have to be like, okay, if you have a better, this is where I want to get to. I think it's very hard to do it in a big company. It's so much easier to do it when you're small, you're nimble, you're agile.
Yes, but maybe my last question is, in your opinion, can new technologies and automation support a more virtuous way of organizing work in fashion, and how? And maybe it's part of the answer. What do you think?
I mean, for me, for sure. But again, there's a lot of growing pains we have to go through in terms of adopting with the technology, trusting the technology, and in the area of optimization and CRM, where the AI was first coming in, those growing pains have happened. And so we can see from those examples about in the same company when AI is adopted, how different people have a different viewpoint of the same project. Was it a success or not? So I really think we need to not think there's going to be a magic wand. There's no magic wand. There's hard work, being honest with each other, saying, this is why we are using this tool. Is this going to save us this much money?
Yeah, but in the sense that I'm not thinking about techno-solutionism and using the technology to solve all the managerial issues. And we know that automation is creating new issues. But in the sense that if we use technology to automatize a certain part of the work, maybe we can use the saved time also not to produce more, but to focus on the complex problematics such as that one.
I want this. But the Xerox photocopier did not remove paper. I want this. This is what I want. And this is what I'm working towards. For machinists to just do machining, and be working on the quality of cloth and get given training modules, and then for designers just to do design and not be caught up all the time in doing technical stuff. I don't know if, I think we all need to go deep and try our best in whatever we are passionate about. And if we have a shared future, we can work towards it. But the future has a funny way.
Would you like to say something to conclude before I give the micro to the audience?
Maybe on this topic, but probably because I've got my teacher side here. There is something we all, I think, all of us here on this roundtable that we have is that, and you have at least, is that you're constantly learning new stuff. And this curiosity of, it's not just keeping on track, being up to date, but this curiosity, it's something that once was called paid university as well, when you're on the workplace and you still want to learn new things and develop, and there is a new technology and you need to adapt yourself to the technology. And yeah, and it's called paid university. I love this very much, and I think this is something we have in common. And this new technology is just like the internet years ago, and we should get through this.
Thank you. Would you like to say something to conclude?
I think for me it's just really nice to be with and learn more about leading French thinkers and how you think, and especially that you're in education. That's really amazing. So I'm just happy to be on this panel, and I think if we all keep working towards something.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to be able to exchange ideas and to see how from one subject you can, it can lead you to another. And I'm thinking I have this image also of a topic that links sustainability and technology and IA, and that was not necessarily originally thought for, which is the end of life of product. And that's ending maybe our exchange, is that now there are intelligence that and robotic also to sort out used clothes. Because the main problem of recycling clothes is that it still needs a lot of handwork to take the buttons, the zip, etc. So now there are solutions to do that on a automatic way, and also there are software that are able to analyze the mix of fibers in fabrics, which means that a lot of fabrics that were not could not be recycled will be recycled in the future. And I think this is really showing how, IA can actually be used maybe on a field that you did not think of at the beginning. And you say that, yes, IA started with CRM and efficiency, but it's also possibly leading us to a better, use clothes and end of life product, which is also a big subject that we're not even starting to talk about here.
but in fact, technology is a tool. It's neutral. It depends on what we do with it. And it can save human time for leisure. It can lead to more profit and more pressure to a better world. We'll see. And perhaps AI will be a different story. But so far, technology it's just like a tool. It depends how you use it.
Thank you so much. Do we have questions? Are you maybe experiencing managerial challenges in your companies? Anyone? Sorry, I don't have my glasses.
For me, being slightly closer to that younger age group, I have a managerial role. I think I can identify a little better with that age group. My question would be, how do you get to motivate people that are of this new generation, as you're saying, that I think that what we're looking for is some type of sort of purpose that's been lost. And I think like instead of like, in my mind, maybe this is my way of thinking, but maybe I would like for you guys to elaborate on this, is how instead of changing how we do things, it's like really thinking about how we're finding that purpose when we do something. Because I think if I do something that I really enjoy and I do it for hours, it would not really feel much as work. Or if I have a purpose why I'm doing this versus I'm getting to do this out of a paycheck. And I think that's like, I think in my perspective, what I see that things have changed, but I would like to know your thoughts on that.
Well,
thank you, sir.
I would be cautious about making big generalization, because within, say, a generation, yours, mine, the one of the guys that we have in our school, there's some are very hardworking and very passionate, and some are lazy, as you can imagine. And I don't think it was so different when I was younger. So we just have to remember the way we were. And I can tell you that some guys are working day and night. I have a young lady in my knitwear lab. I have to chase her to leave at. We close the school at 8 p.m. She almost wants to sleep in the lab. So clearly, we've been thinking about it. When it's concrete, when it's within your hand, you can relate. You know why you're doing something, or you know why you're learning that thing, and you will be able to apply reasonably quickly. The amount of positive energy is enormous, but it's maybe the time span. And again, the question again and again and again: what's in it for me? Do I learn? Do I enjoy? Do I earn my living? We cannot motivate people. People have to find their motivation.
It's a question about culture, and there's so much great writing on culture. But I think the biggest thing is about not thinking that every task would be enjoyable as well, because some things are work, and it is called work for a reason as well. So sometimes we just have to get into the mindset of busting those tasks out, right? But that bigger culture is kind of a piece which you chip away at, I think, and it really depends on what sort of culture you want to create. But I'm educating myself about this topic, and Harvard Business Review has this great piece which has just come out a couple of weeks ago about what are the different types of culture which exist in organizations, how you can start to create a culture which works for you. I mean, there's obviously hacks, like I find co-working spaces, one of the biggest hack, if you find the right vibe and you have a small team, even if it's a small team within a big organization, you can get an extra space because space, being around the correct vibe, makes a huge difference. So I think thinking in your context of where is your team located, in which organization, what can you do, what is under your powers, what is your budget, is it about team days, is it about little rituals like socials online, or is it about somebody sharing a piece of news? I think just starting really small and then identifying what percentage of time you want to devote to it, to this bigger goal.
Thank you. Yeah, do we have another question? One last question? Yes. Est-ce que vous pouvez me dire? So I guess you can continue the conversation after with our speakers. Thank you so much. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Very relevant.